Minuet in G. 1, 2, 3. I slowed down a little bit at the end. It's not a retard written there, but you can take the liberty of slowing that and ending down. Obviously, we have one sharp, and that is the F. So anytime you see an F written there or here, anywhere, it's going to be, in this case, a black note. Let's talk about the rhythm in the beginning. We've seen quarter notes and eighth notes, and we talked about walk for a quarter note and running for eighth notes. So the very first measure goes like this: walk, running, running. Technically, it's counted like this: 1, 2, and 3 N. So that is how that first measure is counted. The second measure is strictly quarter notes. The third measure is exactly the same rhythm as the first measure: 1, 2, and 3 N. And then you have exactly the same rhythm again. The fourth and the second measure are quarter notes, just like that. The second line is a mixture of quarter notes and eighth notes. The first measure is the same rhythm as the first measure of the first line. So look at the second line. The rhythm is 1, 2, and 3 N. If we continue, it's the same rhythm: 1, 2, and 3 N. I think you get the message. Now, the last measure of the second line is a quarter and a half note. So it's counted 1, 2, 3. Now, your left hand will continue with eighth notes, but you count the hands separately. The right hand is what we're talking about right now. So I think you'll be able to get these rhythms. Let's talk about the notes now. We're in the hand position. We begin in the hand position of G. Here's middle C. You go up to this G right here. Put your thumb on that G, which means that 5 ends up on D. So we have the first measure is D, G, A, B, C, D. We're using the first 5 notes of the G scale. We didn't continue to finish it, but a lot of music uses part of a scale. I mean, music is scales and arpeggios and different rhythms and various assortments of that. So this is the part of the G scale. Let's try it. Ready? From the beginning. Ready? And D, G, A, B, C, D. Now play G and G again and stop there. That's the end of that first phrase or musical thought. Let's go to the next musical thought where the next curved line is. Now, this first note in the third measure is E. It's this E. So move your fifth finger from the D up to the E. Always keep them curved and keep your nails trimmed. Okay, 5 on E. Then your thumb moves up to that C. See how close this is? E and C are close. But we're actually finishing up the scale now. So here is the rest of the scale. Wasn't that clever how J.S. Bach, the father of music, by the way, used the first part of the G scale here, and then in the third measure used the rest of the G scale up here. All right, start on the third measure, first line, 5 on E, put your thumb on C, and go up the scale. There's the F sharp. Now that's a G. Now you come down here and play the G an octave below. All right, so let's play that first line all the way through. 5 on D. Ready? And next phrase. 5 on E, thumb on C. All right, second line. 4 is going to fall right where it needs to go, which is on C. Not middle C, of course, but the C an octave above. All right, so it goes C, D, C. Okay, try that yourself. Figure out those notes. But it's, still playing around with this part of the G scale. All right, go to the second measure, and you start 3 on E. Okay, now this is what's called a sequence. The first measure goes like this. The second measure starts one note below, but plays exactly the same pattern, and that is called a sequence. The second measure. Okay, so that makes it's music. It's glue for the listener's ear. It's musical glue. Cross your 2 over to F sharp for the next measure. Then you're back to this hand position. G, A, B, G. The last measure is B, A. Take your time and practice those for a while, and then we'll continue on to the third line, although you already know the third line, because what is it exactly like? Look for similarities in music, and it'll help you learn it a lot faster. The third line is exactly the same as the first line. All right, so let's go down to the fourth line. Now, this begins like the second line, so you already know the first and second measure. And the third measure is where it's slightly different. That's very typical in music. So let's go to the fourth line, third measure. This is where it begins to change. 2 will fall on the A, and then it's B, A, G, crossover, 2 to F sharp, and then you land on the home note. We're in the key of G, and this is the tonic note, the one that's going to feel like you're home. So you end on G, and that's the right hand. Left hand. It begins in the G position, which means this is middle C. 2 goes on C, which makes 5 end up on G below middle C. So here it is. Largely, this is half notes and quarter notes, but a lot of dotted half. And of course, they get 3 counts. We're in the time signature of 3/4. The top number tells you that there are 3 counts to the measure. The bottom number tells you that a quarter note gets 1 count. You should be very familiar with that by now. Okay, so we're going to start with 5 on G. Ready? And G, A, B, 2, 3. Middle C is with your second finger, and then play 3 on B. 2, 3. Okay? That's the first line. Practice that. When you're ready, go to the second line. What is that letter? You should know it very, very well by now. That is an A, and it's A below middle C. So we'll play it with your fourth finger. I only give you finger numbers sporadically because I don't want you to rely on them. 4 is on A. Ready? And A, 2. Play G, 2, 3. This is a D. You already know middle C. This is written right above it, so it's the D above middle C. Hold it 3 counts. Ready? And D, 2, 3. Now play the D again. Then you go down to an octave below. That's a D. And then you play middle C, B, A. That last measure, second line, goes like this. Ready? And D, D, C, B, A. And then we're on the third line. Now, fourth finger falls there. Go ahead and put your fifth finger back on G so that you can play exactly like the first line. All right, let's skip down to the last line. And it's 4 on A. Ready? And A, 2, 3, G, 2. Here's middle D, D, and then G. We're back home. Second finger happens to fall there, just use that. Once you get those very, very well, you can see where the phrases are. That just gives you an idea of how not to play a run-on sentence. Okay, now I'll play it slowly now, hands together, and talk through it a little bit with you. 5 on G, 5 on D, 5 start together. At the beginning, ready, and 1, 2, and 3, and 1, 2, 3. Two and 3 and third line. Two and 3 and 1. You can slow down even more here. 1, 2, 3. Always practice slowly like that. Then you can work up to the tempo that I give you when I first play a song. Now, this is from the father of music, J.S. Bach, from the Baroque period, 1600 to 1750. But in the 1960s, several groups put this into a pop song called Lover's Concerto. You can check it out. The Supremes sang it. The Toys sang it. Sarah Vaughan sang it.
Together you and me make perfect